PSG 5, Bayern Munich 4. Defending 0. See, I've always talked about high pressing, one versus one man marking system. But yesterday, PSG versus Bayern Munich was an extreme case of it. It showed you all the beauty of it as a tactical system and all the flaws of it as a tactical system. Basically, both teams went at each other from the very beginning. There were no positions in this game. Nobody had a position. Nobody had a shirt number. Everybody was everywhere. Let me show you what I mean. Now, this wasn't common to PSG or to Bayern Munich alone. It was both teams. Look at what man-oriented high pressing looks like in theory. Just take a look at the whole pitch. Everybody has a man on them. Mind you, this is Bayern Munich with the ball at this point. Everybody has a man on them. Now, watch how everybody gets dragged out of position. Everybody is following everybody. Let us just focus on two players here. Now, I want us to pay attention to this rotation. First of all, you have Nuno Mendes here, who is a left back. He's on Olise. Olise is his man, normally. And then you have Stanisic here, who is a Bayern Munich right back. Nuno Mendes is the one marking him. But look, just keep an eye on the four of them and look at the rotation that takes place. Now, Olise drives infield with the ball towards his own goal. Nuno Mendes follows him, bumper to bumper. At the same time, as he's making that run, Stanisic has made a run into that PSG's back line. Nuno Mendes follows him. Everybody is sticking with his man. I want you to look at these two here. This is Pacho, who is supposed to be a center back. He's on with Harry Kane here. Harry Kane has dropped deep. Harry Kane is supposed to be the striker. But that notwithstanding, they have all rotated themselves into different positions. At the end of the day, this is Nuno Mendes and Michael Olise. Look at where Mendes is. Look at where Olise is. Far off from his left back position. At the same time, this is Pacho here with Harry Kane. You are not going to see Stanisic and Neves here now because Neves has essentially become the left back. Now, he has gone to the position that Nuno Mendes vacated from and has gone there with Stanisic. Stanisic, who is supposed to be a right back for Bayern Munich, he's now the right winger. This is the kind of rotation that you have in a one versus one pressing system. Everybody goes with their man. Bayern did it. PSG did it. Everybody stuck with their man. Everybody had exactly 3 seconds on the ball. In fact, I would love to see the passes per defensive action in this game. I have not taken time to look at the stat, but everybody had their man. You had 3 seconds on the ball. If you take a touch for more than 3 seconds, there's somebody on you. But there are 2 primary ways of beating, or 3 primary ways of beating a one versus one high press like this. One of them is to take advantage of miscommunication between the players marking each other. What I mean is sometimes you have to know when to follow your man out and allow him to drag you out of position. You also have to know when to hand over your man to another person, for another of your teammates to continue the press. And then there has to be communication between everybody to know who is running with who. When are you handing off your opponent? When are you following your opponent? If there's a breakdown in communication, the opponent can take advantage of it immediately and attack you. Another way is just having pure dribblers. Wingers who can take on their man, players who can take on the player in front of them, beat them. Because this 1v1 pressing, once you beat your man, that whole pressing is scattered. Let me show you an example of these 2 scenarios. Now, keep an eye on what is happening here. Bayern Munich have the ball. And then what has happened now is that Kvaratskhelia is the one on Olise for now. He is marking Olise. Olise is his man. And then at the same time, you had Pacho in defense, picking up his man as well. Then I think this is Jonathan Tah coming from defense, also tracking Neves. Now, watch what happens. Of course, I think this is João Neves, I think. He has seen his man. He is going to mark him. It's 1 versus 1 at this time. Now, watch what happens. When Olise passes the ball and lets go of it, I think this is Pavlovic or Kimmich. I'm not sure who it is, but he takes the ball out wide. At that point, Olise has gone around him and then he's running in a different direction. Now, stay with me. Remember, Kvaratskhelia is the one that followed Olise to that point. Olise is his man. Now, Olise is taking a different direction. He's going in a different direction out of the wing. Pacho is here. He's not marking anybody at this point because PSG seem to have a numerical advantage in that zone. But now, as Olise continues, notice that Kvaratskhelia backs out of the press. I think Kvaratskhelia is thinking that maybe Pacho is going to follow him, or I don't know who this is. He's going to come to Olise and then Pacho is going to step up front. I think this is Hurricane. Step up front to Hurricane. That is not what happens. At the end of the day, because Kvaratskhelia now has failed to track his man, Olise is now able to receive the ball in a lot of space. Once he does that, of course, Olise has time to actually take a touch, look upwards, and then see that he has a teammate. His fullback is making a run behind Mendes already. And then he could easily pick a pass and Bayern were out. They were on the attack immediately. But if you notice where the error was that Kvaratskhelia failed to continue tracking that run of Olise. He probably assumed that another teammate was going to pick up Olise. So he held back, which I understand what he wanted to do there. He wanted to hold that right back position, but that was not his position to hold at that time. Just that one mistake, that one silly refusal to press, immediately Bayern sees the opportunity on the attack. Another way that a high press is beaten, another third way is players dilly-dallying on the ball. You take a poor touch, you make a bad pass, especially when you are in transition. Because the danger is that with this high press, once you hold the ball, your players start to spread out so that you can immediately start your own attack. If during that transition, when you are transiting from defense to attack, you lose the ball, you are out of position, your press is out of shape. If your opponent wins the ball, they are instantly on you. There's hardly anything you can do about it. Let me show you two examples of it, both sides doing it. This first one, this is Marquinhos. He's almost playing as a right back at this point. And then João Neves tries to pass the ball. Of course, he passes it out wide. Hakimi passes the ball into midfield, but I don't know who this is. But immediately the ball comes to him. He takes a poor first touch, and immediately, Diaz robs him of the ball. And what next? Because the pressing is out of shape, once he's robbed of the ball, Bayern has free players in their own half, and then they could immediately start an attack. This is how Olise went through. Of course, they didn't score on this occasion, but look at the flip side of it again. PSG, again, taking a poor touch. This time, Bayern confidently had the ball. Bayern were in possession here. At this time, they need to turn their defense into attack. It's a transition moment. And then one bad pass from the back. And once that pass is taken, it took one touch. Dembele was through on goal already. So this is how it felt as if this game was just end to end. You take a bad touch, the other team is on the attack. You are trying to transition from defense to attack, you just won the ball. One bad touch, one wrong pass, the other team wins possession, they're immediately on the attack. And they were pouring everything forward. But again, at the end of the day, I think this game was largely determined by individual brilliance. See, Nuno Mendes is easily the best fullback in the world on his day. No argument. But I think he had a torrid time against Michael Olise in this game. Olise, I have never seen a winger get the better of Mendes the way Olise did yesterday. I'm not saying Mendes had a bad game, but I'm just saying that this is the worst game I've seen him play. And it's that individual brilliance that made the difference. The penalty that led to the goal, how that penalty came about, was just Diaz making a daring run from the back. Let me remind you in case you forgot. Of course, like we said, it was PSG's attack initially, but once they lost the ball here, watch Diaz. Is this individual brilliance, this solo run, take the ball, just run at your opponent. He kept his calm, and then Bayern Munich were immediately away. And then it was this attack that eventually led to getting a penalty. Overall, I think this is the best Champions League game I have watched in a long, long time. Both teams genuinely having a go at each other. Nobody trying to defend, nobody trying to hold back. But a friend of mine told me today that when PSG were 5-2 up, maybe they should have stopped attacking at that point. and take that 5-2 results to the second leg. But instead, they kept playing that open attacking football and eventually conceded twice. 5-4, they still won. But my response to that was, were you not entertained? As a neutral, were you not entertained? Did you not enjoy the game? Anyway, let's see what Arsenal will do with Atletico Madrid today. See you on the next one.